Well, hello friends, I hope you guys are doing well. Just wanted to pop in and say that today's video is 5 strange stories from Reddit. Now, I know that's a bit of an ambiguous title, and that's because this is a bit of an ambiguous video. I've done a couple like this before, and I'm pretty sure I just called them strange experiences, so I'll probably go with that. In this video, we have a cryptid, a humanoid, and a couple paranormal experiences. Basically, this is a whole, smorgasbord that covers a lot of paranormal experiences, so again, it's an ambiguous title because it's just kind of a random collection of stories. Hopefully that doesn't deter you from enjoying the video. I know themes really do help videos, but honestly, these are just stories that I had collected that I really needed to get read, and I do apologize to the Redditors for taking so long to read them. Hopefully putting them together in a single video will be appreciated. Mostly I just want to get these out there because I don't like making people wait too long to get their stuff read, because it kind of gets annoying on their side, I know, and I do apologize again. That all said, I hope you guys are doing well, and I hope you're ready, because this will be 5 strange experiences from Reddit. Enjoy. So this is something that just happened to me, and if anyone has experienced anything like it, please let me know that I am not going insane. I work at a solar farm, and I had to go in tonight to refuel the generators that keep our equipment charged overnight. The whole time I'm out there, I feel like something is wrong, like something is watching me. I have always had a strange sixth sense for when something bad is about to happen. My left ear goes deaf, and my right ear starts to ring really high-pitched and loud. This always happens right before something bad happens. The whole time I'm filling up the generators, my ear is ringing like crazy, worse than it ever has before. So I'm really freaked out at this point. But then, things went weird to downright freaky. Stuff started either falling or falling over that shouldn't be able to on its own. There were 2 things that I noticed, and probably more that I didn't. The first thing was a small solar panel used to charge the trailer batteries during the day. I heard it fall, but I didn't see it happen. I, at first, figured that it was just me walking around in the trailer beforehand that coerced her into falling. But upon closer inspection, it was previously zip-tied to the trailer, and zip ties don't just snap for no reason. At this point, I'm really spooked and starting to freak out a little, but I kept at my work. However, later on that night, when I was filling up the gas tank I used to fill the generators, I set one behind me and started filling the next one. But when I turned around to pick up the gas can, it was on its side spilling out onto the ground. The really scary part of the gas can being on its side is that I didn't hear it fall. It's almost like it was picked up and set on its side by something or someone. So I finished up my work as fast as humanly possible and got the hell out of Dodge. But when I was driving away, I drove under a street lamp and looked in the rearview mirror, and there was just a guy standing in the middle of the road. I didn't see him when I drove past the light, and there wasn't anywhere for him to hide that was close enough to the road where I wouldn't have seen him. So that's my paranormal experience. If anyone has any info on what the hell just happened to me, please let me know, and feel free to PM me with any information. This is not a fictional story. This happened, and I'm still really freaked out. So I literally just posted this on Creepy Encounters, but I saw this group, and I wanted to post this story here. I don't know how to tell this story without sounding crazy or nutty, but thinking about it still gives me chills to this day, especially since it still makes no sense to me at all. Maybe someone can help me figure out what I saw. Alright, this is my story. I was walking through the city I was living in on a snowy Saturday, heading to a friend's house. There was a good bit of snow on the ground, and for what is usually a busy city, it was dead outside. I saw maybe 5 or 6 cars on my 20-minute walk, and maybe 10 people along the way. But when I was about 3 minutes from my buddy's house, I saw this kid crossing the street with a backpack on. At first, I didn't think anything of him, but as we got closer, I got a really off feeling in my gut. I went from a happy mindset to feeling sick, fearful, and cautious in an instant. I was initially staring at the ground when crossing, but the feeling made me look up at the kid. He was a few feet in front of me, staring me dead in the eyes. When I locked eyes with his, I noticed something was wrong with his eyes and his smile. His pupils were huge and yellow, with narrow oval slits down the middle, kind of like snake eyes. I remember him blinking, but his eyelids never moved. He had an evil smirk on his face, which made me feel nervous. When we passed each other, I looked back behind me, and as my head turned completely, he looked back and gave me a smile. and through the small slit of his lips, I saw his teeth. Each one was separated by a small gap, and his teeth were kind of pointed. I turned back around and kept walking, but when I got to the other side of the street, I stopped for a second, and the feeling disappeared. I looked back around, and the kid was gone. There was nowhere he could have turned, ran, or hid, nor did he have a reason to run or hide. I told my friend when I got to his house, and he thought I was crazy. But I know what I saw, and the feeling I had, and it was real as the ground we stand on. Has anyone ever had anything happen like this to them? Can anyone help explain what I may have seen? My mother and I were, on one fine sunny day, driving along the side of a hill from which you could see the glimpse of a broad river estuary which divides the city in which we live. All of a sudden, there appeared in the center of the widest part of the river a fuming golden object, probably about the size of a car and clearly floating slightly above the waves. It looked as though it was made from the finest gold, and also like an incredibly bright beam of light was somehow being projected upon it and then being reflected back out from its form and into a visible haze of bright golden yellow light so intense that I strained to see what lay at its heart. At that time, I had incredibly good eyesight, above 20/20, and even from this great distance, I could make out what looked momentarily as though there were two human male figures in robes standing atop some kind of platform, open and horseshoe-shaped, and not fully enclosed so that it was open in the back, somewhat like an ancient chariot. One of these two humanoid figures appeared to be gesturing to the other, as though explaining something to him. As my mother was driving and concentrating on the road, I noticed it first, in between the houses as we drove along, and then said, "Hey, Mom, look at that." My mother saw it as well, and asked me in equal amazement, "What is that?" I could tell at the time, from the look in her eyes, that she was seeing not entirely with her physical being. She had this look on her face that I've seen her get before, when she sometimes might answer a question with a request for you to repeat it, while still lost deep in thought and not really present. I really wish that we'd not been so busy, and had been free to stop driving and look at it some more. But we both just kept looking over the side of the road, hoping to once again pick up a glimpse of it through the passing houses, but instead it was once again gone. After it was quite obviously no longer visible, or even there anymore, which was after an entirety of about 30 seconds, I asked, "I wonder what that was?" To which my mother replied, "Oh, well, whatever it was, it's gone now," and we continued on our way. I was pretty disappointed that we didn't stop to get a better look at it, but she was driving and we were in a hurry to get to our next job. I thought that the presence of something which would have been so amazing looking, and being golden and floating above the river, clearly visible to the entirety of the city, and so very distinctive and incredibly odd in nature, might have registered as a local news item. But there was nothing said anywhere about it on the news or in the newspaper. This was still in 2003 and the net was still a toddler. Years later, I asked my mother about that day and what she thought it might have been, but she had no recollection of that experience at all. However, there's nothing particularly odd about that. Just for reference, the river where this occurred is incredibly deep and makes for the deepest port in the southern hemisphere, where the biggest warships in the US fleet can pull right up next to the dock. And it empties in the direction of the next and last destination before a geographical reset, that is the Antarctic. Does anyone have any ideas what it was that we may have seen that day? This was a long time ago, when I was young and probably an 8th grader. My grandma was in the hospital with pneumonia, and everything seemed to be alright. She looked as if she was going to recover. Then, one night on a school night, I was woken up at 11 with my sister saying we need to go to our cousin's house. I was always seen as a mature kid, and have taken care of my cousins and sisters before, so when we showed up to my cousin's house, my parents said they needed to go to the hospital. My aunt and uncle packed up with my parents and left for the hospital. I was left in charge of my sister and cousins. My 2 older cousins slept in the same room together, and their bed had a pull-out bed under it, so my sister crashed into that bed. My younger cousin was about 2 or so, and he still slept in a crib-type bed in another room. I decided to crash on the couch. Later that morning, I wake up and my aunt thanks me for watching the kids. She then tells me that my grandma passed away last night. This is where it gets weird. I slept right outside the kitchen. My little baby cousin woke up with a sipping cup of hot chocolate. I didn't make that cup, and I doubt any of the other kids could make that cup without moving some furniture around to get the microwave and if they did, I would have surely heard it. My aunt then asks him who made it, and he tells us that Grandma made it for him last night. I believe my grandma came to visit all of her grandchildren one last time before she left. I'm not sure if this is the right place to post this, and it's definitely not as out of pocket as most of the posts on here, but I've always thought it was interesting. When we were younger, my sister used to faint pretty frequently. The first time it ever happened, she had gotten up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and collapsed in front of the sink. Luckily, there was a brand new family pack of toilet paper rolls in the corner that cushioned her fall, so she wasn't hurt. But this also meant that it didn't make a loud enough sound to wake anyone up in the middle of the night. Regardless of this, my mom somehow woke up and found my sister while she was still unconscious on the bathroom floor. When my sister faints, she's only completely unconscious for a few seconds before coming to again, which means that my mom would have had to have woken up as soon as the fall happened. It's unlikely that any noise woke her up because the toilet paper muffled it, and my sister was pretty young and small, so she wouldn't have made a very loud crash anyways. My room was closest to the bathroom, and I didn't hear a thing. Also, my parents had their own bathroom in their room, so even if my mom had woken up at the perfect moment by chance, there's no reason she would have needed to go outside of her bedroom to the kids' bathroom. Mom describes it as mother's instinct, and claims that she suddenly woke up for no reason and just had a feeling that one of her kids was in trouble. She went to check on us and saw the bathroom light on, and that's when she found my sister. I'm sure there's a million other explanations for this, and maybe my mom did hear some kind of thump that didn't register in her sleepy mind, but I think it's interesting and kind of sweet to believe the mother's instinct version. So that was 5 strange experiences from Reddit, my dear listeners. I hope that you all enjoyed that video. Those stories is the best way to put that, not that video. That was weird. I know I enjoyed narrating it. I always love reading these stories to you guys. And a huge thank you to the Redditors that allow me to read their stories. All of those are sourced in the description below. All that said, if you did enjoy the video, please consider giving it a like, that thumbs up button. That helps a lot, really makes me feel good about what I'm doing. Also, if you enjoyed my narration, please do consider subscribing to the channel. We recently hit 200, and that was a super awesome milestone, and I would love to just keep going with this, because this is a lot of fun for me. Also, if you would, please do leave me a comment. Tell me how you're doing. Let me know what you thought of the video, and honestly, just anything else that's on your mind. I like to hear from you guys, and I like to respond whenever I can. I try to reply to everybody, so you'll likely get a message back from me. Lastly, in the description down there, I have all of my links to my social medias. Anyway, friends, all that said, I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I'll be back with another collection video on Wednesday, and that one's actually going to be UFO sightings, so that'll be fun. Until then, and until next time, my friends, sleep well.